Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing a very new company जिसका IPO आया है recently in the market, right? So we are going to be discussing about Vishal Mega Mart, okay? So I think most of you might have heard about this. There has been a lot of buzz. If you've not heard about it, I think if you are staying in the south of India, especially if you're staying in Karnataka, I think you would be very familiar by seeing these stores around you, okay? So first let us understand कि इसका business model क्या है, how do they make money, because like I always tell, you need to understand कि धंधा पैसा कैसे बनाता है, because if you don't understand that, then there is no moving forward, okay? So first of all, let us understand how Vishal Mega Mart, what does it do, how do they earn money? Now in a simple way, if I have to put it up, Vishal Mega Mart का business model is similar to that of DMart, okay? Same to same kind of offering, same to same kind of store, same to same kind of experience that a customer gets. But the only difference over here, I would say, that Vishal Mega Mart is even more affordable than that of DMart, okay? Than that of DMart. Now if you look at their business, they, like I told you ना, उनका USP अगर आप देखते हो, they cater around with the fact that they are way more affordable. उनका पूरा का पूरा ये है कि I want to give products to my customers. I want to be able to give a shopping experience to my customers at a very affordable. I have to give them good quality at affordable price. And different varieties I have to give them. That is the main motto, you can tell, of the model. Now if you look at them, if you look at Vishal Mega Mart, like I told you, it's like a DMart. उनका एक बड़ा सा building they take on lease, like 2 to 3 floors, yeah, single floor, and every floor is catering to something. So they have three main segments in their business. One is they sell apparels, okay? Apparels matlab clothes. Now when you talk about clothes, different types of clothes, where it's men's clothes, women's clothes, as well as kids clothes, okay? So this is the first thing, that is your apparels. The second thing is they sell is general merchandise. Now what is this general merchandise? Could be toys, could be towels, could be your cups, sauces, all of the home furnishing items, okay? The third thing is your FMCG goods, that is your shampoos ke leke atta, biscuits, ghee, everything, okay? So three categories are there: apparels, general merchandise, and then we have your FMCG, okay? Now over here we need to ask ourselves कि whose products are they selling? खुद का product sell कर रहे हैं या दूसरे का product sell कर रहे हैं, right? Now if you look at them, if you look at their apparels they sell खुद का products. Even if you look, let me first, before going to that, let us understand कि कहाँ से कितना कितना आ रहा है, ठीक है? If you look at apparel contributes 44.6% to the top line, and all of the numbers are H1 FY25 ka numbers I'm giving you from the the revenue contribution to the sales that we'll be discussing later. Everything is H1 FY25 ka numbers. So if you look at apparels contribute around 44.6. अगर आप general merchandise अगर आप देखते हो, general merchandise contributes around 27.85, and similarly FMCG also contributes around 27.42. So the majority chunk is coming from apparel business. Now why is that so? Is because apparels में आपका margin ज़्यादा है when you're selling clothes compared to, let's say, general merchandise, compared to, let's say, FMCG का products over here. In fact, if you look, FMCG का margins is around 6 to 7%, versus apparels का margin is around 35%, okay? Now coming back, other than this, now I told you, right, these people sell different kind of categories we discussed. Now whose product do they sell? Are they selling their own products, or are they selling a third party kind of products? Basically, they're selling other people's products in their stores. Now if you look at their business model, you see that it is a mix of both. Like when you talk in their apparels contributes how much? 44 to 45%. Now pura ka pura 100% of the apparel sold in all of their stores, it is khud ka, that is Vishal Mega Mart's ka own brand. Yeah, you can tell it as private label brands, right? Where they are in control of design, they give it, once they get their design, they give it as outsourcing to somebody else. Or by the way, every single thing here is outsourced. They do not have any manufacturing unit. Third party vendor se kharwata hai, right? And then after that they come and they sell it in the stores. That is why over here the margins in apparel is higher compared to your any other products. General merchandise, if you look at it, in general merchandise it is a mix, okay? So 70% of the general merchandise sold in the stores are खुद का. Other than that, the 30% is they're selling like third party products, okay? Then you talk about the FMCG goods. FMCG goods mein the mix is 33% they sell own, okay? In fact, they have their own brand called First Crop, okay? That is the name of the brand, and under this they sell like atta, Maggi, sugar, like all of these different things, different kind of biscuits, bhujiyas and all. So if you look at the revenue mix from this FMCG contributes around 27%. Out of this, if you look at it, 33% comes from their own brand, and the rest comes from their other people's brand. Like you're selling think कि like Head and Shoulders का shampoo and other things, right? So I hope now you understood कि like यहाँ पे business model क्या है. Basically they're nothing but they're like a mix of a grocery store plus a mix of like a DMart and like a Zudio. You get everything over here. Apparel से लेके you get your home furnishing items, बच्चों के लिए toys, stationaries, and you get your FMCG products, atta, chawal, biscuit, all of these things you get. Okay, so if you look at also their store ka, let's say if they're hiring, they usually go for a big property whenever they're hiring stores or they're leasing out. उनका first floor में रहता है पूरा apparel का, पूरा apparel, especially if it would be men's and women's apparel at the start. Okay, in the ground floor. In the first floor it would be in the first floor it would be men's and kids together, and along with that they would keep all this toys and luggages. Then the last floor, the third floor, would be FMCG ka, where all FMCG goods are there, and all these cups, aapka pocha karne wala, that stick, mopping stick that we call it as, all of this will be sold in your third floor. So this is how every store ka format is there. Okay, now if you look at these people, where are they concentrated on, which geography they are mostly located on is, if you look at them, they have around, as of now as we talk, they have around 645 stores. Okay, now this 645 stores, out of this, if you look at it, the majority of the sale comes from two states, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. Karnataka mein, out of the 645, they have around 73 to 75 stores, and in Uttar Pradesh they have around 111 stores. Okay, so major concentration in these two states, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka, and after that Assam comes third, right? But if you look at all these three states, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka and Assam, they contribute around 35%. These three states contribute 35% to the revenue. ठीक है? So business model आपको समझ में आ गया, right? Basically what they sell, how they sell it, कितना उनका brand है, and everything. The other thing is, like, if you look at them, they're mainly a brick and mortar store at the end of the day. मतलब क्या? All of the sale, 98-99% of the sale happens when a consumer goes to their shop and buys it, or goes to their complex and buys it. That is it. Online also they have, but in online it is more like you download their application, you choose whatever the products you need, you pay for it, and then there is no service they're giving you. They're not coming and delivering it to your house. You have to go, you'll place an order, and the order will be ready for pickup. You have to go and collect it from their store. So that is the online, that part you can tell sell, but that is again very very less. It is hardly contributing anything, hardly less than 1% contribution hai wahan pe. Majority comes from this people going out and buying, and that is how this sale happens. Or you can tell brick and mortar sales. That is why over here store expansion becomes a very very big deal. Okay, now I think if you look at over here, you got the complete gist of the business model. Now let us talk about here, like, how has the numbers been. One thing I'm really surprised over here, to be very honest. Okay, I did the scuttlebutt actually with Vishal Mega Mart, because it's been near my, it's actually quite near my place also, just like 600-800 meters away from my house. So I just went there. I mean, if I have to tell you, it is exactly like DMart, yes, but I would say a bit more organized, bit more cleaner than DMart, and literally half the price probably you get of DMart. So even they're even more affordable. Even if you have to compare the clothes also, right, the apparels, I think your t-shirts and everything, they start from 99 rupees and they go all the way up to like 400-600 maximum. Okay, and even here also, I don't think the quality, the apparels ka fashion and everything is equal to Zudio, I would say, in the value fashion space, or even for the matter V2 retail. I would say it probably comes in, it comes in the same range as V2 retail and Style Bazaar. But having said that, it's like a basic fashion, apparel ka fashion hai yahan pe, that is it. Okay, but much more affordable than Zudio in terms of in terms of apparel category, way more affordable, I would tell you, like way more affordable. And if you talk about the offerings that they have in terms of their general merchandise and FMCG, that is even more cheaper compared to, let's say, what you get in in other places, like for example DMart. Like I can't believe, I couldn't even believe like DMart se kuch sasta bhi aur bhi hai, and that is and I see another thing why over here, I'll tell you, like yahan pe, if you see, you might think like who wants to buy this, like itna sara competition and everything, why are they targeting? If you look at this Vishal Mega Mart, they're mostly focused in this states in T2 and T3 cities, right? Even T1 cities may be zyada hai, but mostly even in in T1 cities, in those environment where there are lower stat of the economy. In fact, if you look at the target customer, the target customer is lower middle class people. Okay, so over here now, what really works well for them? Why is that? You might think like how much more into value fashion you can get into. Here क्या हो रहा है? See, for example, see, in these areas when you go to, right, especially in T3, T2 cities and all. Still over here you will see these days that a lot of unorganized shops that are there. Like in the what I mean to tell is, abhi bhi wo log dukaan mein jaake you go and get your clothes, right? Like you go and you tell them bhaiya mujhe kurta dikhao, and that guy will show you like 10 different types of kurta, like that. So still that happens. Now they are going into these kind of areas where there is a lot of unorganized market, and from where in these areas unorganized to organized. Because see, let's be very honest, if you are going to T1 cities, and you can't, these kind of stores wouldn't survive in in South Delhi. First of all, unka wahan pe rental cost will be too high, and on top of that nobody would want to, that's not the customer, that's not the customer, target customer over here. So over here where a lot of unorganized market is there, and the kind of people would want, and see, everybody wants it, like imagine people who shop from these kind of these ye chote chote dukaan se jo shop karte, even they would want that experience. Now unko bhi acha lagta hai when they go to a mall, they go to this Vishal Mega Mart, AC hai, सब कुछ organized है वहाँ पे, somebody is coming and helping you, कि like मैम ये try कर लो, वो try कर लो, they are helping you sort out in getting the size, you have a trial room, एक billing counter रहता है. I know for a lot of us, it could be something like a very normal experience, but there is a different category that we're talking about over here, right? And they're targeting these kind of customers at the end of the day. And this was not just spoken here in Vishal Mega Mart ka, I watched a lot of interviews by the management, Mr. Kapoor, but it was also spoken in B2 retail, कि like why a lot of times why would यहाँ पे value fashion इतना क्यों काम कर रहा है, especially in T2 and T3 cities, because these people wouldn't even step inside the mall, because they might feel intimidated to step inside the mall, and they're trying to give them the same kind of for T1 people it is like to go and shop in Phoenix. They're trying to give them the same experience in their own cities. And think about it, now you are getting everything under one roof, यहाँ पे, right? AC चल रहा है, and you have billing counters and everything, right? You give them that experience, and everybody wants that, right? Everybody wants to feel seen, everybody wants to feel a bit premiumness, and that is what they're targeting over here, with this start of customer base. Okay. Now again, like I told you, coming back to the point, I was a bit surprised actually looking at the numbers, because I looked at their stores. I mean, of course, right? I mean, I was like, yeah, 30% ka growth kar raha hai. I was actually surprised. So if you look at their sales for the last 4 years, they've been growing at a decent 30% CAGR, and even in terms of operating leverage is also quite immense. The PAT also, if you look, like minimum 40% ka CAGR to hai. Good, very good amount of operating leverage they've been witnessing year on year. Okay? And even if you look at the store expansion, every year they kept adding 50 to 60 stores. That has been the average, right? They kept adding, and right now they are at 654 stores. Okay, now let's talk about sales as of H1 FY25. Okay, पहला बात करते हैं H1 of this year versus H1 of last year, that is FY24. 6 months का comparison करते हैं, ठीक है? पहला बात, if you look at the sales has grown on a HOH, that is on a half yearly basis. It has grown by 19.3%, and PAT जो है, PAT grew by 30%. So good amount of operating leverage and good amount of sales, I would tell you, ठीक है? PAT margin जो है is at 5% versus 4.6, and EBITDA margin is at a decent 13 to 14%. Now over here you might see that the PAT margin is very low. It is at 5%, right, for especially a B2C kind of player. Now understand this again, why is the PAT margin low? We have to connect it to the business model. Okay, what is the business model? यहाँ पे they are selling apparels, they are selling general merchandise and FMCG, and what is their USP? Affordability, right? I want to give you the best quality at the affordable price. Okay, so that is why you see over here उनका बहुत बड़ा USP में ही थोड़ा problem है कि like they are going into this pricing में उनका कुछ power नहीं है, because ultimately उनका क्या है, I will be the सस्ता thing even compared to D-Mart, right? So as a result you will never get a price increase over here at the end of the day. It has to be a pure volume kind of game यहाँ पे. These people have to grow at 40 to 50%. That kind of volume they need to target, right? For them, for them to sustain over here. Because in fact I'll tell you, I think in one of the interviews that I saw, where the interviewer was asking कि like you can see this consumer का demand जो है थोड़ा weakness दिख रहा है. So how did you target it? How is it possible for you to grow at 20% when especially in this FMCG and this general merchandise, if you look at it, there has been a low the weakness in terms of demand, and they were like we are fine tuning. They used a lot of corporate jargons, and the interviewer was quick to catch it, and they told कि like yes, obviously the way we are able to get it is focus more on volumes. And how are we able to focus more on volumes? How are we able to get this volume? Is, let's say, if the inflation ke wajah se, when you see a price hike across all the categories from different kind of stores, we don't do that we don't do that price hike, right? As a result, we are driving the volumes, right? It is a combination of a lot of things. One, they don't take that price hike like their competitors do. Like I told you, affordable cheese bechta hai. Second is a little bit of discounting, right? So all of these combined together is why you see कि like यहाँ पे PAT margins that is there 5%. Like I told you, their USP is affordability, and affordability होगा तो price increase नहीं होगा, price increase नहीं होगा, value growth नहीं होगा, which means what? Your volume growth is driven either by cutting the price or by keeping the price at the same place, right? Which means you have to really strive to get that kind of volumes over here, ठीक है? Other than that, if you look, उनका जो SSG है, same store sales growth has been at 12.6% for this half year. That is for this September FY25. If you look at it, okay. So okay, numbers are not really, numbers are good. 20% kind of growth, 30% kind of PAT. Margins are okay for the kind of business model that they are. Overall great. Okay. Now let's talk about the other things that are there. If you look at their financial statements, if you look at their again over here also, asset liability mismatch nahi hai. Asset liability mismatch is at CA by CL. If you calculate, it is at 1.4. Quick ratio over here is less than 1. But having said that, they have kept a lot of things on inventory. Now I believe this has happened is because Q3 is the best season, right, for any of these kind of companies, which means you probably have to keep a lot of stock in inventory so that you can supply to your stores at time and the consumers can buy. And we've also seen this time, our Diwali was way ahead compared to last year. So maybe that is why, you're seeing this, quick ratio सिर्फ 0.4 है compared to the other metrics, right? Because यहाँ पे inventory थोड़ा ज़्यादा है. Book value जो है उनका is up by 10%. ROE is also good. ROE is at a decent 23%. All in all, good certain amount of certain metrics. Now the only thing I had a problem over here in terms of the cash flows is, if you look at their cash flows, you'll see that the cash flow is positive. Okay. But if you go into the details and see in the working capital changes, you see that the payables that is there, payables has increased massively. It's not just increased, you might because you might tell like September to September also it has increased, that is last half year to this half year. And the other one is, if you compare March versus this September, you will see rampant increase in terms of trade pay in terms of payables, which means what? Maal liya hai unhone, they have collected it from the suppliers, but they have not done the payment. Now again over here, since it is a newly listed company, I do not know why they have not done this payables. Is it so, to show that, because you're coming for an IPO, whoever has been handling their IPO, I think they told them cash flows positive dikhao, don't show your cash flows as negative and adjust it like this. Make sure it could be one of those, because see, ultimately your financial statements can be fudged, right? So I do not know if it is this reason why they have shown, this payables has increased and they have not done the payment. As a result, since they have not done the payables, unka cash flows jo hai is positive, and that is why you will see cash flows is positive by a huge amount. Or is it because probably their payment cycle is huge, like shayad unka payment cycle, again, it's a newly listed company, shayad unka payment cycle is 9 months, 12 months, because in the span of 6 months you're seeing such a huge increase in payables that gives you a reason to question like, why did you do what why did you do what you did, right? Like that is something to ask. I would say question the management. I mean, it could be, the guess is it could be, because they're coming for IPO and they just want to have a clean sheet. They didn't want analysts to question them like, cash flows kyun negative hai. They didn't want that. Maybe that's why. Or could be because generally unka payment cycle jo hai, the working capital cycle that is there is huge. Okay, that is the only thing I'll tell you which I didn't like in the cash flows. I didn't appreciate that. I think that's a better way to put it. Okay, now overall good terms of numbers, good. I mean 20% ka growth is good, right? Like 20% ka growth hai, PAT is up by 30%. Overall great set of numbers, margins are also good and everything is nice. Now the most important thing to ask over here is, at the end of the day, like yahan pe what is the kind of guidance that we can expect, what is the kind of growth we can expect, and what is the valuation that you're going to be paying for this, for the kind of growth it has. Like first let us talk about the store expansion. Like I told you, they've always been opening around 50 to 60 stores in an average. Now in this H1 FY25, if you look in H1 FY25 alone, in this year, in the 6 months alone, they've added 34 stores. So I believe in H1, if you're adding 34 stores, we can see a little bit increase in terms of store expansion rate. Because if you look at it right now, abhi 654 stores hai. To double the 654 stores, if you're adding 50 stores 50 stores a year, that would take you around what, 11 years, almost it would take you 11 to 12 years, right? 650 stores, think about the logic. 650 stores, if you have to double it, the store count is 1222. So to take it to 1222 stores, if you're adding 50 stores a year, that is around 12%, that is around 12 years it will take. Then the store expansion CAGR is hardly 6%. So I would say little bit in terms of store expansion is something we could expect. Probably, hopefully they increase it. And when it was asked to the management, they told, if you look right now where we are present across all the states. Only 4 states we are not there, that is Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Gujarat and Maharashtra. And right now they've started penetrating into Kerala, and the logic is not just into penetrating into new state, but also deepen the presence in the existing states that is there. Okay, so there was no clear cut answer, so I do not know. I mean, at this rate, if they continue, then the store expansion is hardly 6 to 7%. And when you compare it to the other people that are there, I know it is not a right comparison when you compare it to, let's say, V2 retail or other people, because yahan pe only 44% is coming from apparel. But having said that, the store expansion rate is not that high, that you can expect. It's not like 20%, right? And so ultimately I think 6 to 7% or 10% maximum you're going to get from store expansion. The other thing over here, the management has told कि like आगे जाके भी, like until now we've been maintaining a 30 to 35% kind of CAGR. Going forward also we will maintain this 30 to 35% का CAGR, और 30% का growth engine that is we can easily maintain. So अगर आप 30% कर रहे हो, so FY24 का revenues कितना था? FY24 का revenue था 8,912 crores. Okay, and if you're expecting that kind of FY25, if you're expecting around 25 to 30% ka CAGR, then your revenues are around 11,500 to 12,000 crores. That is what you're expecting. So obviously, na 6 to 7% aa raha hai from new stores, 12% SSG hai, that is around 20% kind of growth. Additional 5%, if they increase the pace of growth, that can come. So the calculation is matching. There is no mismatch in terms of that. But having said that, if you are, like I told you, we can always calculate that 1 year forward PE. Let's say if you're targeting around 11,500 kind of growth, like I'm being very like 25% ka CAGR I'm taking, and you're targeting around 11,517 crores, and you're expecting PAT margin to be 5%, right? Because yahan pe to moat to utna kuch nahi hai. So PAT margin is 5%, so you can expect the profitability for FY25 to be around 557 crores. So if you take today's market cap, right, and divide it, like because see, another thing is it got listed also at a good premium valuation at the end of the day. And if you divide it, the 1 year forward PE becomes around 85. So the question over here really comes is, would you be willing to pay for a 30% growth engine and 85 times earnings, right? That is a big question, right? Like, is that even justified? Is, I think, I don't want to answer it if want to give my personal opinion over here, because that becomes a very, because see, first of all, the entire valuation game is subjective, and it inherently goes on to become a buy or a sell recommendation, I can tell. That is why whenever I discuss my valuation thing, I give you the different case scenarios and I let you decide, because ultimately it is, it's whenever you do anything, it's your portfolio, you have to be able to do it for yourself, right? So my work over here is to give you the logic, give you the knowledge, and decision making has to be yours at the end of the day. But having said that, as I told you, na, ki like yahan pe at the end of the day, ki like 50, 25 to 30% ka growth hai, and 80 times earning is something that you need to decide. The other thing I'll tell you, yahan pe, right, they have to, I mean, see, 30% growth is good, but having said that, the biggest problem that comes over here is that there is no control in terms of pricing at the end of the day. Although you're selling, if you look at it on an average, comparing all of the three, 70% of the sale happens through own brands, irrespective of the category. Total sales, if you look at it, 70% happens from their own brands, and the 30% happens from the other people's brand, or third party brands. Now, in spite of this, if you look at it, the PAT margins are hardly at 5%, right? And if you look at the EBITDA margins, is at around 12 to 13% is what it is. And that goes to show you, yahan pe, ultimately these people are playing the game of volumes, because no pricing power at all. So these people really need to rack up the volumes. They have to go at like 40 to 50% kind of volumes to be able to, because other than that, there is no USP at the end of the day, because tomorrow it requires one inflation environment for you to kill everything at the end of the day, right? Like, ek inflation aata hai, very bad inflation, let's say, that comes because of any XYZ reason, then you won't be able to increase the price. Raw material ka price sab badh jata hai, you won't be able to increase the price. Ultimately, there will come a point, where it won't be, it is not sustainable able to do the operations, right? So that is the only, the fact that they don't have any pricing power is my only क्या बोलते हैं, only ick. And if you do not have pricing power, it is okay, but if that is the case, then you have to be a very very high volume growth engine. If you're not getting pricing power, then you have to compensate with high volumes, because that economies of scale must compensate for this. That is the only way to go around it, right? So that's it about Vishal Mega Mart. Let's see, I mean, since it is just recently IPO company aaya hai, let us wait, let us track. I would really want to see how Q3 goes for them. I hope Q3 is really damdar, really blockbuster for them. I hope they grow their sales like absolutely bonkers. I hope we can see like 40-50% kind of volume growth from here, and see what happens, right? I think sometimes we need to also cut some slack for these new companies. We have to wait and watch and see how they perform also. Okay, but that's it about Vishal Mega Mart. Good company, but let us. I'm very interested. I like these kind of models, to be very honest. Because they're very easy to understand, simple. Like, it's very easy to understand the model, right? So I really love these kind. And I really like when I see these kind of companies get listed, like it's very easy. And these are the kind of companies that you see that makes money a lot more in India compared to, like, let's say aapka is that solar and wind and other things, right? So they are like this long term engines that can actually make a lot of generational wealth. But having said that, we have to track and wait and see Q3 mein kaisa hota hai, how does the volumes play up, how does the sales growth play up, do we see an increase in the pace of sales growth, do we see increase in volumes, and the most important thing is the store expansion mein, are we going to see an increase or not, okay? But overall, good metrics, everything is great. Let's see and wait and watch for Q3. That's it for today's video. We'll see you again in another one. Bye.